This swim that we finally finished is part of the Agbechi Living Water Expedition, which is an expedition looking at building out the research on the quality of water, specifically looking at microfiber textile pollution in the water. So in Accra, we see the super high levels of textile pollution, and we just wanted to know and understand whether that's a problem in other parts of Ghana, and specifically on the Volta River, which is one of, if not the most important internal waterway for Ghana. So while I was swimming, we were also taking water samples and air samples, and yeah, now my job is done. It's left for the scientists to finish processing all the samples and do the count of the microfibers and whatnot, and then we'll take it from there. Yeah, and in total, I think as a team on the boat, we covered at least 450 kilometers from the northern regions of Ghana to the southern region of Ghana. But yeah, so I'm really happy we did this expedition. I really hope that it's a strong, meaningful, formative part of our broader Stop Waste Colonialism campaign. And I would like to see that this research and this expedition make a difference to the level of microfiber pollution from textile waste. Not just, in our water bodies generally, but also specifically in Accra. Just finished. I'm not gonna lie, I feel extremely tired. I can barely think right now, but it's extremely satisfying to have finished. Yeah, it's just hard to have perspective. Today, I don't think I swam the furthest distance, but I definitely swam the longest. So I'm 2 hours this morning and then almost 4 hours, 3.5 hours this afternoon. So it's just really physically challenging, but extremely satisfying. Very cool to see the river turn into the ocean just over there. So I'm really happy about that. And yeah, I think we've achieved what we set out to do. So that's great. So today swam 15 kilometers. And I expected it to be a lot of work, but I did not expect it to be as much work as it was. My expectation was that basically the river would run really easily and fast into the ocean, and it does not do that. In fact, there were points where it's like if I stopped, we would be pushed back. So I had to really use a lot of my own energy to move forward. So I feel very good about my strength and my discipline. But yeah, I was hoping it'd be easier. Luckily, I don't have to do it tomorrow. So today is the last day, the last push.
That is some daring expedition. The deepest I've gone is 12 feet. The farthest, maybe 2 laps of Yvette is laughing. Yvette, I'm telling you, I swim for leisure. But even that, sometimes my muscles talk to me after. You're speaking to me and saying, ooh, that was quite intense.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at you. The first time my colleague Maxwell brought us the story, I think a couple of weeks ago,
Yeah.
I was like, who is this? Why is she doing this? Okay, then I'm like, okay, there's a good reason. But tell me how the experience was, Yvette. Tell me from the conceptualization stage to the preparation and the implementation. Why did you even think about doing this?
I mean, the experience and the expedition has been obviously the most unique experience of my life, and it's been really exciting to do the expedition, but also to share it with people. And basically the genesis of the idea was that I was with the founders of the Ore Foundation and the science advisor for the Ore Foundation. And we were talking about adventures that are done by people that also have a strong science component. And, me being me, I said, oh, I can do something. And there was a friend that said, oh, why don't you swim in the Volta River? Because I've already been swimming in the Volta River. And I said, yes, that's a great idea. And I think from the perspective of our research at the Ore Foundation, which is looking at the impact of secondhand clothing and textile waste on our water bodies in Accra, swimming in the Volta River was a great opportunity to look at, the country's water body from the north to the south. Because we started in Wipe and we ended in Adan. so we could really get an idea of what's happening in the water from the perspective of clothing, from basically the whole country, which was really cool. And so yeah, it was myself and a crew of people that started in Bupe, and 40 days and 40 nights of trial, but exploration as well to create the Agbechi Living Water Expedition.
So you're a scientist by profession, or?
I'm not a scientist by profession, and this is what's so interesting. I am co-founder of a business called Ivaya Farm, and we prepare dried fruit. So I would like to say that I've been working kind of in sustainability and working for the development of Ghana in some way. But this was an opportunity for me to look at sustainability and look at the impacts of development and international trade from another point of view, this time from fast fashion and textiles point of view.
And so tell me what you discovered. I chanced on a write-up where you test the water at every point. I want to believe that you have a paperwork that will be released soon, but just give us a hint of what you discovered generally in the water.
So much of what we were doing, not me because I was swimming, but our scientists on board, much of what we were doing was collecting water samples and air samples to process through a fiberglass filter and then look at through a microscope and with UV light. So what that does is, if there is microfibers or even microplastics in the water, we'll be able to see it. And that's just the beginning of the process. After that, we actually have to manually count each fiber, each piece of plastic on the sample. So it's a really laborious process. And the reason I say that is to say that we need time to finish processing the samples. We have hundreds of data points because, like I said, we really wanted to get a picture from the north to the south of the country. So that's, a distance of 450 kilometers. So we have a lot of data points. But we have already done much research in Accra, which is where the research started, looking at places like Kole Lagoon, and looking at places like Old Fadama, and the way in which when you go there, you see these huge amounts of textile waste.
Right.
So what we have in Ghana is the influx of clothing from global north as secondhand clothing. And the retailers and the tailors in Kantamanto are processing a lot of that clothing, but still 40% of that clothing ends up in landfills, informal landfills a lot, as waste, and then goes into the water and decomposes in the water, and we are looking at the different pollutants from that.
So I'm sure someone is at home saying,
why did she do this?
Yeah, what is a big dream? I mean, why would you agree to swim for 40 days? I always picture it because I'm like, nah, that's a lot of hard work.
Yes.
Why would you do that?
Yes. I mean, every day obviously was a challenge. I'm a fit person and I was training for 7 months beforehand, but it was still extremely exhausting. And I myself would have to remind myself that the reason I'm doing this is to draw attention to the issue, to build on the research, but also to enable people, especially Ghanaians, to experience what we have in Ghana. I mean, you can kind of see it from the footage. We have the most incredible views, environments, scenes, and it's a lot of places we don't really go or we can't go to, partly because there's no infrastructure.
Right.
And so for us, it was really important to make sure we were documenting. And so for me, there was the joy of swimming itself, but also the joy of being able to take people to see what I could see.
That's important. And as you said, they're great scenes. And it even shows the opportunities we have even in terms of water sports.
Right.
Because I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh, we can do what other people do in other countries, right?
Definitely.
We don't have to restrict swimming to, indoors or being in a pool or something like that. We can have people. Yvette can even compete for us in the Olympics. What do you think?
I've been talking a little bit too much. Yeah.
No, because I mean, this is a lot of hard work. So Yvette works with the All Foundation, right? And they have been doing some incredible work here in Ghana. But I'd like for you to tell me what the All Foundation is about and the other types of work that you've done.
Mm-hmm. So the All Foundation is an organization that's working at the intersection of education, fashion, and development. And the core work that we're doing is to look, as I said, at the global trade of secondhand clothing and the impacts that it has in Ghana. So the Agbechi Living Water Expedition is part of a larger research project looking at water, but actually we have a delegation of Ghanaians from Kantamanto and from the Ore Foundation in Europe right now as part of our Stop Waste Colonialism campaign. So right now, there's a lot of talk about like the waste that's produced, but we have people who are providing a solution in Kantamanto, and what we want is something called a globally accountable extended producer responsibility.
Right.
It functions kind of like a tax, so it's saying to producers of clothing in the global north, if you want to produce all this clothing, okay, but there's got to be money towards the people who have to deal with the problem.
Perfect.
Where the problem is being experienced.
Perfect.
Yes. So they're in France right now calling for that policy to be implemented and, yes, making people aware of what's happening. Because I think for those of us in Ghana and abroad, we're not really aware of the issue, other than we kind of see rubbish in the distance. But we really want people to be able to see closely and understand exactly how it works.
So you were doing this, there have been news stories, I've seen even on international media.
Yes.
Do you feel that you have created enough awareness, the kind of awareness that you wanted to in embarking on this expedition, or you think that there's a lot more work that needs to be done? Basically, I'm just asking, do you feel Ghanaians connected with the vision that you had, for which reason you stepped out to do this?
Right. I mean, I think there's always more work to be done, but I do feel incredibly supported. I do think people are really engaged, and that was the point of the swim, to create an entry point. Now, what I would love everyone to do, what I would love you to do, is to consider signing our petition for that EPR. So you can go to stopwastecolonialism.org or just Google Stop Waste Colonialism. And we have a lot of information about what we mean by waste colonialism, basically talking about the movement of clothing to Ghana, and then sign the petition to try and implement that extended producer responsibility policy.
Right. So you need to write this down, right? Stop
Waste Colonialism.
Wastecolonialism.org, or
Yes.
just Google Stop Waste Colonialism. There's a petition that you should sign on to. And look, these conversations have been had over the years about Ghana being a dumping ground. Okay. Unfortunately, it's not only fashion. Unfortunately, sadly, it's not only fashion. There's tech, the electronic gadgets. Sometimes you go to some of the markets and some of the things you see being dumped on us, you ask yourself, really, where's the dignity in that?
Dignity is such an important word, and what we want to do with the EPR policy and the funds generated from EPR is to ensure people are working in dignity. And also to ensure that people who are working have the resources that they need to do the work, so that we can really have some agency rather than just being seen as victims who are having to deal with this thing.
Is the Ore Foundation based in Ghana?
Yes,
right.
It is based in Ghana.
And how can we support? There may be somebody who says that, oh, I like the work she's doing, but I mean, I don't have the strength to swim like she does. But I mean, if there's any way I can support.
Right, yeah.
I mean, how do they support the Ore Foundation?
Sure. I mean, the main thing right now is to sign the petition, stopwastecolonialism.org, but also just to follow the work of the Ore. So the Instagram handle is The Ore is Present. But again, you can just Google the Ore Foundation Ghana. And we have a number of different activities that are going on. And there's also a number of events where people can learn more about the different impacts. So right now, it's signing the petition, but also staying aware, staying connected to the activities of the foundation.
And you mentioned that you also do dried fruit?
Dried fruit, yes,
Okay.
yes. So I co-founded Ivaya Farm with my business partner, Emmanuel Ampadu. We've been operating for about 5 years now. Everyone in our team for now is young. Every year I'm a few years away from being young. But we're a young team that really working and fighting to develop Ghana from in a sustainable way, looking at farming, looking at agriculture. We do dried mango, dried pineapple. It's available in local supermarkets.
It is, okay, because I was just going to ask that. You are such a bundle of joy. I mean, because I'm looking at all the things you're doing. How do you manage it? I mean, working here with the OR Foundation, your agribusiness work. How do you juggle all of these things?
I was just saying in another interview that starting from when I was doing my training, I had to give up some elements of my social life. And so I spend a lot of time working and training, but I have a really great core group of friends. And yeah, I'm not really gallivanting in town. I'm mostly...
You're sacrificing a lot to achieve what you want.
Yes, because I think it's worth it. And
of course.
You know, when I was swimming in the Volta River, I mean, I keep coming back to the word joy. You really experience so much joy, and I want other people to be able to experience that. And it gives me a sense of purpose, which really motivates me.
I'm so happy to host you. Yvette Tetteh is her name. So if you see any other country claiming her, please, she's ours.
Yeah.
And she's been doing some incredible work with the OR Foundation, swimming in the Volta Lake from Bupe to Adan. Goodness, this lady is so strong, man. And she's been doing this because she wants us to focus on textile pollution, right, and the impact of that on our water body. So we'll be looking forward to the findings, and definitely I know that you will share with us, because you've done a great work sharing this experience with us,
right.
And you definitely will share the findings with us, and I will share them with you, so we all understand the impact of textile waste, especially on our water bodies. Thank you so much, Yvette.
Thank you very much.
And you can go follow her foundation, the OR Foundation. Is the OR Foundation on all social media platforms?
Yes, at the OR is present.
At the OR is present, and follow the work they're doing. Don't forget to sign that petition, right? It's important if you support her work. Just help us achieve some good results with all the work. And that'll be it for my conversation with Yvette Tetteh. She's an entrepreneur, and she's been doing some great work here in Ghana. I'll be back to wrap up the show this day.